So, shalom lekulam. Today we're going to be learning about Orot HaMilchama, which is Rav Kook's philosophy on war. Why do we have war? What is Am Yisrael's tafkid in a war? And I definitely want to start from Clausewitz, that he was a very big philosopher about war, probably the biggest philosopher on war throughout history, modern day history. He lived around 200 years ago, and he says that every war, when you have to see your enemy, you have to identify what is their tipping point, what is their soft spot that you're able to hit and defeat your enemy at war. So if you look at different wars throughout history, you're able to identify. I'm going to talk about a few different enemies that we have here in our region that we've been fighting, and to try to identify their weak spot. And at the end, we're also going to talk about Israel's weak spot and how that is such a chazak thing. So I'll start with Hezbollah. Hezbollah is our enemy from Lebanon. They're our northern enemy. And obviously they're a proxy of Iran. They've been getting their funding from Iran. The head of Hezbollah up until a few months ago was Nasrallah, one of our biggest enemies in the modern day history of the Jewish people. A terrible person that really was brutal to all of the enemies that Hezbollah ever had, including obviously Jews and Israelis, but a really terrible person. Now, if you look at Hezbollah and try to identify what is their weak spot, you're able to see that Hezbollah they're not able to produce many warriors, because the average Lebanese woman doesn't give birth to too many kids. I think they're average around 3. And Hezbollah is a terror organization working in Lebanon. They're not the Lebanese army. They have representatives in their parliament, but they are not the government. They're not the parliament. So they're not able to recruit so many soldiers. So even though Hezbollah had a lot of weapons, a lot of missiles, their main weak spot was their terrorists, their warriors. Once we were able to knock down a substantial amount of terrorists from Hezbollah, we were basically able to make them not relevant. They weren't able to really retaliate, and that was like our main way to get to Hezbollah. Another big weak spot that they had was that they viewed Nasrallah as this person that is godly and godly sent and very spiritual. He was their spiritual leader. Once we were able to get to Nasrallah and kill him, that took out a lot of the energy from Hezbollah, because they viewed him as this spiritual leader that is untouchable. So once we, with Chazdei Hashem, were able to get on the beeper operation to the main leaders of Hezbollah, their generals, their main commanders in the army, that was the first real hit that was able to knock down Hezbollah. If we go to Hamas, they're very different. They have a lot of people. The average Palestinian or Azati woman are able to give birth to a lot of kids. They have a lot of kids. And also, Hamas is in charge of the Gaza Strip. That means every Hamasnik that we take out, they're able to reproduce very quickly and bring in more terrorists to their terror organization. Now, just to talk numbers a little bit, when October 7th happened, it seemed that Hamas had anywhere between 30 to 40,000 terrorists and warriors and soldiers. We killed around 25,000 throughout this war, and today they have around 30 to 40,000 soldiers, warriors, terrorists. And the question is, how? So that's what we said. They are able to reproduce, and they have a lot of people. What they are not able to reproduce so quickly is their weapons. Being that Hamas is kind of in their own place, their own bubble, we control most of the ins and outs of the Gaza Strip. We're able to make sure that once we blow up most of their capabilities of war, whether it's their missiles, their launchers, their RPGs, their guns, then it makes them a lot weaker. So that is their soft spot, the armed capabilities. When we talk about Iran, Iran is a huge country, around 90 million citizens to Iran. They're around 75 times the size of Israel. They're this huge superpower here in the Middle East. We have to try to identify their soft spot, and if I'm not mistaken, they have 2. One is their spiritual leader, Khamenei. He is a godsent. That's the way they view him. He's put here on earth to try to bring the word of Allah, of God, the word of Muhammad, the Quran, and the way they're supposed to implement it today. Mamash, a religious figure. So he's one soft spot that we decided as of this moment not to kill and target yet. That might change. Another main soft spot is their nuclear facilities. They've been spending trillions of dollars in order to try to build up these facilities. They believe their doctrine was that once they have nuclear power, they are one of the strongest forces in this region, and that's how they're going to control the Muslim world. Well, Baruch Hashem, as the days progress, we're taking out more and more of these capabilities, and that is one of their biggest soft spots. Another soft spot and tipping point would be their spiritual leader, Khamenei, but that is yet to happen, and Bezrat Hashem, it will happen soon, but it's yet to happen. When you look at Israel, and you try to identify what is our soft spot, I think it's very, very clear that our main soft spot is our citizens. We care deeply about every citizen of Am Yisrael, every Jew here living. We don't want anybody dying. Unfortunately, in war, people will get injured, people will die, but we want to try to minimize that. We are not able to cope with the fact that there could be hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of people dead. That's not something that we're able to cope with. That's why we spend trillions on building up bomb shelters. For every apartment that is built in Israel, there's a law that you must have a bomb shelter. And if it's not in the building, so there's a miklat for a few buildings. That's one thing. Another thing that we've spent billions on is our defense, Kippat Barzel. We have missiles to intercept missiles. That is something that most countries in the world don't have, and if they do, it's on a very, very low base. But here in Israel, we try to make sure that every missile that is sent here is intercepted. It's not 100%, but it is high percentage, and that is very unique for the Jewish state. It's very, very unique for Israel. It's not something that most countries have. No other country in the world has a law that you have to have a bomb shelter in every apartment. It's not because they're not targeted. A lot of countries in the world are involved with war, if not right now, then 10 years ago, then in 10 years. But that's something very unique for Israel. We care deeply about every single citizen that we have here for them not to get injured. That is our soft spot. Rav Kook, when he talks about war, we're not going to go into the whole ma'amar, we're just going to keep it kind of short today. When he says, when there's a very big war in the world, the power, the strength of Mashiach is awakened. And the reason is because war, by definition, is two sides battling on a higher ideal. When we come to fight our enemies, it's not because we want destruction. The opposite. We want life. We cherish life. We're trying to bring godliness and goodness into this world. That's why we go out to war. We're trying to prevent our enemies to be able to annihilate us or bring terrorism to the world. That is the definition of why we go to war. It's always on the offense. It's always on the defense. It's never meant to be on the offense. We're called the IDF, Israel Defense Force, Tzva Haganah Israel. We're trying to defend ourselves. Sometimes the best defense is offense, and we have to go out to the offense in order to try to eliminate all threats that we have. But our goal here is to live a good life. That's what we want. We want this world to be a better place, and that's why sometimes we have to get involved with war. Now, in this war, because we were one of the biggest wars that Israel ever fought since the creation of the state, we are fighting in order to live here in a better way, in order to bring the light of Am Yisrael to the whole world. That is the goal of this war. We have to remember when we run to our bomb shelters, when we're going through these hard times, our goal here is to try to make this world a better place. That needs to be our mindset. Now, another interesting fact is that my son asked me a few days ago, how many wars do the Jewish people fight since we were created as a nation thousands of years ago? And I didn't really have an answer. I said, I'm sure we're talking about hundreds or thousands of wars that we fought over the 3,000 years that we've been a nation. And then I searched it in a few different places, and apparently we're anywhere between 25 to 30 wars. 25 to 30 wars in the last 3,000 years of the Jewish people. One of the main reasons is because for 2,000 years we've been in galut, we've been in exile, so we were never able to conduct a war. Yes, we've had a lot of genocide towards our people, whether it's pogroms, the Holocaust, things like that, but an active war that we are able to take arms and defend ourselves, or try to defend ourselves, it's only happened 25 to 30 times in our history, and a lot of that is in the modern times. And Rav Kook says that when Am Yisrael fight a war, we're talking about very, very high spirits that are fighting this war. Meaning our neshamot, our souls today, are very, very high neshamot. We see this because when we learn in Tanakh, we see all these big figures of Am Yisrael fighting wars. Avram Avinu, the war of the kings. We have Moshe Rabbeinu fighting all the wars, leaving Egypt, coming into the land of Israel. Maybe the most famous one is Amalek. We have David Amelech. We have Yoshua bin Nun. We have these huge people fighting these wars. We know that they're huge people because they're not only dealing with the war, they're dealing with spiritual things. David Amelech, he writes Tehillim. Moshe Rabbeinu, obviously giving us the Torah, taking Am Yisrael out of Egypt. We have Avram Avinu, he's fighting a war, but he's also one of our forefathers of the spiritual nation. And that is the definition of being a Mamlechet Kohanim V'Goy Kadosh. To be a holy nation and a spiritual nation, you have to be a nation that also knows how to bring a lot of ruach, a lot of spirituality, but also, unfortunately, sometimes to bear arms and to defend ourselves. It's a mitzvah. If someone's coming to kill you, you go and kill them first. Ezrat Yisrael miyad tzar. There's a mitzvah chiyuv deoraita. If you are being attacked, you must draft to the army, you must take arms, and you must defend yourself. Baruch Hashem, after thousands of years, Am Yisrael we're back in our homeland. We're able to take arms. We're able to defend ourselves after 2,000 years of exile, and that is something that should not be taken lightly. Yehi Ratzon that with all this hard things that we're going through today, it should leave afterwards a world that is clean. It's clean from our enemies. It's clean from evil, bad people, bad forces in the world. And when they come and they scream Allahu Akbar in the name of God, we should scream Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Hashem, that is our God. He is the God of the world. He's the God of the universe. Hashem is one. Everything comes out from a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Our job here is to know that just like we go out to the battlefield and we're able to say Shema Yisrael, also after this war, Be'ezrat Hashem, we should try to deal and do a tikkun olam b'melchut Shaddai, try to make this world better in this force in godliness. Be'ezrat Hashem, we should only hear good things. Am Yisrael Chai, and only good things.